This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's KFI AM 640, and you're listening to The Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app. KFI AM 640, it is The Conway Show. Well, this happened moments ago. ABC is dropping Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely over comments that he made about Charlie Kirk. So it literally is just happening. Crozier, when did that story come across the news?
Well, our 24/7 iHeart News service just put it across at 4:05. But,
oh, okay. All right. So maybe it happened Saturday? Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Are you?
Yeah, and I'll have to have a conversation about that later. We noticed you made a crude comment about the news department. But anyway, it's just coming across. And Bellio, what do you say? You're at the Jimmy Kimmel desk. What's going on there? All right. Okay. Well, we can't hear you. Your mic's not on.
No, I'm working on it. I don't have anything on.
Okay, but you're at the Jimmy Kimmel desk?
I am at the Jimmy Kimmel desk.
It's, man, we got a desk for everything. Well, literally, we do have a desk for everything. There's a...
That is true.
There's a bunch of desks right out where we work here. All right, so we don't know much about it. I'll tell you what it says on the internet, but it literally is breaking news. It's happening right now. Jimmy Kimmel pulled off the air. Let's put on CNN, Robin, if you can, in there. I don't know what CNN is in there for you. It's a different station for me in here. But CNN is on it doing a huge story. And I don't, I guess... From what I understand, it has to do with something he said about the shooter, about the Charlie Kirk shooter. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, pull it up. See what we have here.
Carr spoke out on that far-right podcast. Then some stations that are owned by other companies but affiliated with ABC started to complain to ABC. We know one of them, Nexstar, which has about 24 stations with the ABC logo and all the ABC programming. Nexstar publicly announced that they were going to drop Kimmel's show indefinitely.
Wow.
Within a matter of minutes, we heard from Disney that the show was being pulled altogether. That suggests to me that other station owners were probably also getting scared. Other station owners were probably also coming up with backup plans not to air Kimmel's show. But even though we're talking about comedy, this is so serious, Aaron. Yeah. America is a less free place if late night comedians cannot do and say what they want. Of course, they can be tuned out. People can change the channel. That's how we vote. That's how we have our say in America.
That's right.
But this really does have a chilling effect across the American media. And it's not just me saying it. We've heard from the group FIRE in the past few minutes, the free speech group FIRE, saying, quote, the government pressured ABC and ABC caved. Quote, we cannot be a country where late night talk show hosts serve at the pleasure of the president, but until institutions grow a backbone and learn to resist government pressure, That is the country we are. And just one more note, Aaron, I've heard from Brendan Carr in the past few minutes. He's very pleased about Nexstar deciding to preempt the show. He has not officially reacted to ABC's decision yet. But when I told him about ABC's decision to go ahead and basically, this is a cancellation unless the show ever comes back, he did send me a GIF. He sent me a celebratory meme as his reaction, Aaron.
I mean, Bill, let me just ask you about where we are in this moment, okay? Because fear has a domino effect. You have a late-night comedian whose first reaction to the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk, as Elizabeth just laid out, was to say, my wife and I's thoughts go out to that family. What a horrible thing, right? Made very clear where he stood. By the way, hardcore free speech advocates would say that isn't even a caveat that is needed in this conversation, okay? But I'm not even, but I'm just making the point that he had taken that stance. He comes out the other night and he merely, as a late night comedian could do, said, and by the way, no one knows the full facts about this assassin, and says, well, it could be this, and that's what he says. Could be MAGA. And to that, he gets this response from the FCC chair. I want to play a little bit more of you, Bill, a little bit more of Brendan Carr here from the FCC for you. Here he is.
And they have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Robin.
Bill,
all right. So here's from Variety. ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely after host Charlie Kirk comments. Disney's ABC said it would take Jimmy Kimmel's popular... let me get a pen out here and do some editing here. Hold on one second. Get a pen here. All right. Just a little bit of editing. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. There was a word in there that didn't make sense. Disney's ABC said it would pull Jimmy Kimmel's late night show off its schedule indefinitely after one of the biggest owners of TV stations in the U.S., Nexstar Media, said it would preempt airings of the program following the host's remark about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Nexstar said Wednesday that its owned and partnered television station, used to call them owned and operated, the O&Os. Now they call them the owned and partner television stations affiliated with ABC Television Network will preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, beginning with tonight's show. The company said it strongly objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk and will replace the show with the Tim Conway Jr. show. God almighty, that was quick. So I'll be on tonight, Channel 7 at 11:35. Maybe Mark Brown will throw it to me, like he does on Channel 7.
And we start it with the Timmy Time theme.
That's right. That's right. And tonight's guests are Michael Crozier, longtime iHeart employee.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
You got it. Sharon Bellio talking tonight about her fro and her accident with her hair last weekend.
Hey, everyone.
Robin's going to be on, and also Angel Martinez coming on tonight to do a segment called How to Make a Sandal. So
first time, long time.
Thank you. That'll be tonight, 11:30 on Channel 7. So anyway, Nexstar said Wednesday that the company said it strongly objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel. So in his monologue Monday night, Kimmel said that the MAGA gang was trying to score political points off Kirk's murder. Kirk, a prominent conservative activist who was shot and killed. God, I can't stand when they do that. Everybody knows the story. Why do they always have to recap the story? And Crozier, shouldn't that be highlighted so if you know the story, you can skip it? But it always has to be in the story, It always has to be there for people that just don't follow news, I guess. Or maybe the people coming out of a coma.
But somehow they all of a sudden are.
Maybe.
If you've been gone for the last week somewhere.
Yeah, maybe that's what it should be. Yeah, if you've been on Mars, welcome back to Earth. But if you're on Mars, you're still going to get news.
You get something.
Yeah, you get Mars news. But anyway, in the monologue Monday, Kimmel said that the MAGA gang was trying to score political points off Kirk's murder. Kirk, a prominent conservative activist who was shot and killed on September 10th at a debate in Utah Valley University. 3 days later, authority announced they arrested a suspect shooter. So anyway, it says we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang trying to characterize this kid who killed Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. That's what Jimmy Kimmel said. He said, we hit new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang trying to characterize this kid who killed Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. Okay. And then it turns out that, there's a whole host of, reasons why this kid did it. And none of them make sense other than the one that he had a boyfriend/girlfriend who was transitioning and hated Charlie Kirk. And so all the other people are saying, well, we're still on standby. We don't know why he was killed. There's not the picture hasn't been painted yet. It's not completed yet. It's complete. It's complete. And I noticed that it's not just Jimmy Kimmel, but I watched Channel 7 News on Friday. And I think the reporter's name is Tim Caputo. Does that sound right for ABC News? I think that's him.
Yeah.
He came on and he said, Robinson is a conservative guy raised in a conservative part of Utah with a conservative mom and a conservative dad. And he's a conservative. Back to you. Essentially, that's what he said. And then the next day when it came out that he was living with a guy who was transitioning to a woman and that was his lover, ABC never mentioned it at all. They never even talked about Charlie Kirk. It was odd. It was odd. I mean, sometimes, look, I love local news more than anybody. I'm a big fan. But local news doesn't understand that the internet is around. They're still operating like the internet doesn't exist. And people get the truth eventually from the internet. So you can't hide it anymore. You can't say he's a conservative. You can't say he's a MAGA guy because the internet is the great equalizer. They'll come out and they'll tell you all the facts. Like that guy that blew up that clinic in Palm Springs. I think it was an abortion clinic or abortion facility in Palm Springs. And he blew it to smithereens. And I was watching the news and the FBI said, we haven't identified who it is. We haven't identified why he did it. We haven't identified exactly where he lives or where is he or what he's done and everything. And I said to my wife, I said, oh, man, they don't know anything yet. And my wife, who was on Twitter at the time, said, oh, no, I got his name. I got his address. I know where he is. I know his friends. I know his family. I know where he went to school. She knew all that stuff before the FBI was reporting it on TV. So the tide has turned. People are getting their information mainly from KFI first, and then Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and social media.
That's what we've been saying more and more, like especially like with Colbert being, told that his contract's ending. That whole idea that mainstream medium is not populated with viewership anymore. Yeah. It's all social media, getting their information, their news and stuff like that. So is this an easy thing for Disney to do with that argument in mind as well? It's like we were going to do it because everybody was saying, is Kimmel next? Right after Colbert was told he's done. So is this an easy way for Disney to get out of that?
Yeah, maybe. That Nate Bargatze, when he was hosting the Emmys, made a joke, but it wasn't really even a joke. He said, why don't you save your political speech for the internet and put it on social media? And then he said, and by the way, more people will see it than are watching this show right now. And he made it as a joke and people laughed, but it's true. It's true. All right, we'll come back. Jimmy Kimmel has a comment. We have time to, we'll play it when we come back. Jimmy Kimmel has made a comment about him being suspended from ABC News. When we come back, I will play that comment for you on KFI. So keep it here. Tell your friends to come on over because I'm going to play the comment. It was, I think it was sent just to us. So I think we're the only ones that have it. So don't look for it online.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to Fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's Fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's Product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
We got it here.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. on demand from KFI AM 640.
I misspoke. We have the Jimmy Kimmel comment that he made that got him suspended. If you're just tuning in, Jimmy Kimmel has been suspended indefinitely. And the show will not air tonight, and we'll see what the future holds for Jimmy Kimmel. And when that came in on YouTube, I thought it was the quote that he had made about this, but it's not. It's the quote that the controversy is about. And this, I'll play it for you. This is what he said on Monday, and this is what brought a lot of the TV station, the owned and partner stations by Nexstar, and I don't know how many stations Nexstar owns, but evidently enough that Disney decided to remove Kimmel from the air, suspended indefinitely. Here's the comment that he made on Monday that was, I guess, what they're blaming for this, but who knows what really is going on behind the scenes. Here it is.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So that's the comment. Here, I'll play it for you again if you're half-ass listening, like most people.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
All right. So that they're saying that is the reason he was suspended indefinitely. More news on Jimmy Kimmel and the suspension of his show. What'd they say they were going to put there? They didn't know tonight? His monologue Monday night. Let me see. No, they didn't say what's going there. Here's more news on Jimmy Kimmel.
ABC is yanking Jimmy Kimmel's show indefinitely, after remarks about Charlie Kirk. And this is just breaking. We have the very latest, really shocking news just breaking here tonight. As the FBI director today was accused of an Epstein cover-up, Kash Patel repeatedly testifying he can't release the documents. The courts, though, have said otherwise, as Trump tonight is facing protests and questions about Epstein, even on his trip to London. And tonight, a sheriff's warning to Tyler Robinson's romantic partner.
So I think that was it.
And good evening, I'm Erin Burnett, and out front tonight, we do begin with this very late breaking news. Jimmy Kimmel's late night talk show has been pulled off the air indefinitely. ABC is just making this announcement about Jimmy Kimmel Live, just hours after the Trump-aligned chairman of the FCC went on a podcast threatening to take action against ABC and its parent, Disney, about Jimmy Kimmel, specifically over these comments by Jimmy Kimmel 2 nights ago. What Jimmy Kimmel did, I'm going to play it for you, but I'll tell you what he did. He suggested that the suspected killer of Charlie Kirk might have been a pro-Trump Republican.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Of course, he didn't celebrate it, didn't do anything like that. He just came out and talked about it. And you saw what he just said. He said, we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize the kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. That's the direct quote of what Jimmy Kimmel said. So why does that warrant this? Right? Again, it wasn't even a celebration, and I know people are very torn on that and what is free speech or not free speech. But here is what the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, just warned.
You know, when you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. Obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at.
Well, he said it, and then it happened, a suspension. Note he called Kimmel's words the sickest conduct possible. Again, Kimmel wasn't coming out. He wasn't celebrating anything that happened to Charlie Kirk. He was simply speculating as to what side of the political spectrum his killer came from What's happening with Kimmel's show, though, comes in the context, of course, of the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. CBS announced it was canceling that. Colbert was a longtime and vocal critic of President Trump. Now, CBS said that this was due to financial reasons, which many, of course, have doubted. In this case, it doesn't appear that such a fig leaf is even present, right? It is pretty clear this is what it looks like.
All right, so we'll have updates on that. If Jimmy Kimmel makes a comment about it, we'll have that for you. But it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes down and what happens to the 200 people that work on that show. You know, did they have a contract? Are they going to work on another show? Are they going to be unemployed? There's a lot of people who own businesses that are around the Jimmy Kimmel show that also make money off the Jimmy Kimmel audience, the Jimmy Kimmel crew, right there at that theater on Hollywood Boulevard. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure that Adam Carolla will have a comment as well. Adam Carolla is one of his best friends. And Jay Leno probably will have a comment as well. There was a long-standing feud that Jimmy Kimmel had with Jay Leno that I believe they patched up, but both of them appeared on Bill Maher's show, Club Random, and they both talked about it. And even though they both say it's water under the bridge, you can still tell there's some bad blood from Kimmel to Leno. I think Leno doesn't care either way. I think Leno apologized where he should have called him back at a certain point when Jimmy Kimmel was going to be moved to the 12:30 slot. Leno was going to get the 11:30 slot. And Leno, he just didn't call him after that deal fell through. And he said he should have, and he apologized, and that was it. But I think Kimmel has held a grudge against Leno after that. So we'll get into that too. I'll play it later on in the show, the audio from Bill Maher's show, Club Random, which is the best show that he's ever done and the most popular. He gets millions and millions of hits on every video that he does. And he gets the biggest guests to come in just for an hour, smoke pot, drink, and talk without commercial interruptions, without limiting what they can say, without the language being bleeped. And it's become a favorite of mine and a lot of people. The Bill Maher Club Random. All right, we're live. Lots going on. Jimmy Kimmel suspended, and we'll have more information as it comes in today.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. on demand from KFI AM 640.
The big news here in Hollywood is Jimmy Kimmel has been suspended. The show is suspended indefinitely. So as soon as we get more news on that, we'll have that for you. But now the king of Saturday night is Michael Monks. How are you, bud?
I'm well. Appreciate that. It's been a pretty busy news day, especially here in the late afternoon.
Could you take your Saturday night show and go Monday through Friday in that Kimmel slot?
Do you have any connections? I had audition.
I don't have any connections. No, I don't know anybody over there. I used to.
Yeah, I don't like late night.
You don't?
Oh, I like that they do it around this time, though, right?
Yeah,
like they're probably finished for the day.
Record,
by now.
I think that might be finished.
That's not a bad hour. Well, it might be finished for that show. Might be.
But I heard there's also a Panda Express walking distance.
I'll be able to be nourished.
Yes,
and then I can nourish America.
There you go. So the convention center, you're on top of that.
I am.
Like nobody else.
I hope the audience is not tired of this. This is important.
I think it is.
It's significantly important because it's not just a development project. This is a lot of money that we're talking about, and now there's a battle at City Hall over the best way to move forward on this thing.
Right. And it's also a sort of a look inside the way government operates in the city of Los Angeles. How many dumb choices can they make?
It is a mess at City Hall. And they even confessed that during this week's budget committee. We don't really know whether this is a good idea. We just don't have enough information. And by the way, they've spent $54 million just to get information.
Wow.
$54 million.
So give us the history like you did before.
Yeah, sure. Briefly, okay. The convention center, it's a little dated, apparently. If you're into that sort of thing, they're losing out on conventions to smaller markets. They say they just don't have the space. It's not up to date. It needs a $2.7 billion expansion.
Wow.
That price is up from the 1.1 we first heard, I think, early last year, and it's up from the 2.4 we heard just last month. So the prices continue to escalate. What that means is the city would basically finance this over the course of 30 years. The cost of that each year to the budget is estimated to be between $100 and $200 million. We already know the city is cash strapped. They were very close to laying off a lot of people this year. They managed to avoid that. But by the way, they only did that for now. They're going to have more headwinds when the next budget cycle starts. So if you add a $200 annual bill, it's only going to make it harder for them to keep the services that you need.
Right. And they were going to pay for most of it, or a big portion of it, with the video billboards.
And then that is apparently not as great an option as they thought, because there are state regulations around where digital billboards can go. They thought an assembly bill was going to get through this year. It did not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In order to allow for more revenue to come in. So that has lowered the revenue forecast. So
it was at $60 million. Then it went to 23?
Yeah.
Or 27?
Yeah. I mean, it cut it by 2/3, just about half,
right.
2/3, somewhere between there. What they're looking at now is the budget committee this week voted 3-2 to support a different option, which is not to do this big, massive project because, one, we don't know if we can afford it. Two, we don't know if we'll finish the first phase in time for the Olympics. This is an Olympic venue in 2028.
Construction zone.
Yes. Let's instead just get a report in a month on how much it would cost and what the logistics would be just to clean it up a little bit.
Oh, is that right? Just to paint and vacuum?
Yeah. So on Friday, the full city council is going to get to decide on both of these issues.
Okay.
They're going to take up both. And there hasn't been a good city council meeting on a Friday in some time. So I am looking forward to that.
I was there. My daughter had a cheer competition at the convention center. So I was there 2 years ago. And I got chicken strips for myself and my wife. And we were going to split it. And I think it was $23.50 for 3 strips and fries.
How was it?
Not great.
Not great.
Not great. But how about this? I paid the $23.50. I gave him a tip. I think it was like, $3 or $4 tip. And I said, oh, wait, the sauce is in here. That's $1.
Yeah.
I said, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that's why it costs $2.7 billion to clean this thing up. Maybe they'll get some better chicken strips.
That's right. How can you screw up chicken strips?
I don't know, man.
They're the easiest thing in the world. All right, so now they're just going to paint. The Olympics are still going to have gymnastics there?
Yeah, I got to issue a correction. I've been saying gymnastics, not entirely correct. It's not. The crypto will host like the exciting part of the gymnastics, okay. But there's various gymnastics stuff, but they are hosting table tennis.
Oh, good.
At the convention center, and judo, those sorts of things. So it is an Olympic venue. If they can't get this project, if they do decide to go forward and they don't get it finished in time, that people are coming here. Can you imagine what that will look like?
Traffic.
LA is on pace to embarrass itself on the world stage.
Exactly. Buddy, I appreciate you coming by. And we got more on Jimmy Kimmel. And we'll be following that story as well. Thank you, Monks. Saturday, 7 to 9 p.m.
As always, thank you.
And Ding Dong with you.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. on demand from KFI AM 640.
If you're just tuning in, the Jimmy Kimmel show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, has been pulled off the air by Disney. And they didn't say permanently, but they said indefinitely, suspended indefinitely. It's the lead story on all the cable news stations. It will be the lead story on all the local news stations, especially Channel 7, because Mark Brown, who is the anchor of the 11 o'clock news, would often throw it to Jimmy Kimmel at the end. Jimmy Kimmel coming up in 10 seconds. Here's who's on tonight. And they would throw the show to Jimmy Kimmel. And now tonight, it's going to be different. And I bet that Mark Brown is a Jimmy Kimmel fan. They work for the same company. He probably has run into him in, dozens of occasions. And you might see, Mark Brown depressed tonight that potentially his friend, Jimmy Kimmel, was fired. Also, Adam Carolla I think Adam Carolla's best friend is Jimmy Kimmel. And I think, that's going to be hard for Adam Carolla, because Adam Carolla doesn't share Jimmy Kimmel's politics, but he has a great friendship with him. And so it'll be interesting to see what Adam Carolla has to say, what Stephen Colbert, maybe tonight on Stephen Colbert's show, he mentions it. What about Jimmy Fallon? He'll mention it tonight as well. And these guys have to, walk a very tight rope. Because if they go too far, they know they could get pulled the next day. And so they don't want that. And so it's going to be very interesting to see tonight what Stephen Colbert says on CBS Channel 2 what Jimmy Fallon has to say, and what Mark Brown's reaction and what Adam Carolla's reaction will be. TMZ, I believe, is doing a piece on it. And since this news broke, CNN has gone wall to wall, I think without commercials, maybe with commercials, on Jimmy Kimmel being pulled. And it says the White House's comment is ABC is doing their viewers a favor by pulling Jimmy Kimmel. We played earlier the Jimmy Kimmel comment that is at the root of this suspension, and I'll play it for you again. It happened Monday night on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
All right. I've only met Jimmy Kimmel once in my life. I was at a deli in Burbank. It's about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And he was at Pinocchio Deli, and I was there, and he was at the counter. I was at the counter. He had a lower number than me, so he got to the counter before I did.
Did you say this was at Disneyland?
No, it's at Pinocchio Deli.
And that's not in Disneyland?
No. I don't know. It's also called something else, like Bella Vista or something. It's got another nickname.
That still sounds like Disneyland.
Yeah, but everybody calls it the Pinocchio Deli. It's great food. Fantastic food. All right. And I said, hey, Jimmy Kimmel, and I introduced myself. He goes, I know who you are. You don't have to introduce yourself. I said, when we talked for a while, he had asked how my daughter was. I think she was like 6 or 7 at the time. And we had a very pleasant conversation. And he took his sliced meats and pasta and went one way. And then I got my sliced meats and pasta and went the other way.
Oh,
that's my only.
So good.
That's my only interaction personally with him. But on a professional level, I was called by ABC about 7 years ago, and they said, we're doing this show. It's, God, I can't remember when the name of the show. It's a live version of, I think it was a live version of All in the Family. And Jimmy Kimmel was going to produce it, and they were going to do a live version of All in the Family. And they said, hey, can we come on as an advertiser and promote that show? And I said, yeah. And they came on. ABC came on. They got terrific people at their in their publicity department. And they came on and they purchased a schedule and they were on for a month. And we talked about it for a month. And it went on. It aired. It was successful. And Jimmy Kimmel won an Emmy Award. And it was his very first Emmy Award. And it was the very first time that ABC and KFI were in partnership to promote one of their shows. And they won an Emmy. So, look, I'm not saying, we're responsible for the Emmy, but I don't think it hurt. And maybe the way to get more Emmys, Crozier, and more Oscars for these studios is through KFI. If it worked once, it can work again. So when it comes to Oscar season or Emmy season, Golden Globes, the Grammys, the SAG Awards, this might be your show to come on, buy yourself a schedule, promote the hell out of it, and get the people who listen and vote in Hollywood to vote for your project. Because it worked. The one time we did it, ABC came on, bought a schedule, promoted that show, and it won an Emmy Award. It can happen again, and you know how to get a hold of us. All right, if any more comes out of this, if Jimmy Kimmel has a response to it, Adam Carolla, Jay Leno, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, we'll have it for you immediately. Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Now, you can always hear us live on KFI AM 640, 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app.